Did that work? Was that scary? In the spirit of Halloween, and it's been a bit... What the fuck do you mean it's only been 2 months? I feel like I've been gone for 2 years! So for the fun of Halloween, I dressed up. And if you... I'm Tyler Joseph from the hit band 21 Pilots. What the fuck am I doing? I went to one of the concerts. I'm right there. Look, it's me. I'm in the thing. Oh my. Okay, enough about the fucking traveling to a concert. Shut up, bitch. Damn, okay, damn. Anyways, Left 4 Dead 2.
Kill all sons of bitches. That's my official instructions.
This used to be a night.
In all seriousness, Left 4 Dead 2 is a phenomenal game. Like, everything about it is just phenomenal. From the characters, to the gameplay, to the AI director who keeps fucking me in the ass. So today, I wanted to do something that I've always kind of wanted to do, but never really got around to do it. Kind of go through a campaign within Left 4 Dead 2 and kind of just show how cool it is. So I'm just going to go through each part of the campaign and each chapter and just kind of see what I found. And of course I might be missing things or this or that, so if there is some things like that, just let me know in the comments below. So today we're going to be talking about Early Days, which is a pretty new campaign that was added to the workshop and kind of got my attention just randomly scrolling through one day. Created by Perfect Buddy and released on September 2nd. The map's description goes as follows. It's day 3 of the outbreak. Hospitals across the city broke into chaos and the police is struggling to contain the infection. Survivors have made their way across the city in search of an evacuation center that has not been overrun yet. Setting it only 3 days after the initial infection is quite the interesting play, because when we first meet our characters in Left 4 Dead 1, we see them only 2 weeks after the initial infection. So we get to see the initial reaction to the public when these infected monsters are running through rampantly and killing everyone. And this premise has always interested me, because it's the downfall of humanity and our reaction to it. Like, what is gonna happen? It's so uncertain, it's so interesting to me. It reminds me of the Project Zomboid mod, the 1 week mod, because it's just everything's fine, and then course of a week, everything goes to absolute shit.
We need to go. That was playing in Moldraw too. What is this game?
The only time we get to understand like what happens between the initial infection and the 2 week starting mark in the actual story is within the comics, where we see Lewis at his job calling in people that are sick, and then going to take a shit and then being attacked by a zombie. Zoe's at her parents' house after a semester of college and just wasting her time watching horror movies until a zombie breaks in and basically her entire family dies. Francis is well up at being Francis, and then a girl turns into a zombie and attacks him. He doesn't even know what the fuck's going on, and then he just goes on a killing spree, you know, just Francis stuff. And Bill, who's just about to go into a procedure as one of the surgeons turns into a zombie, and he has to quite literally fight off turning, going unconscious, and then exits the building like a fucking badass with 2 bone saws and just starts to go his way to find his gear. Like, that's so cool. What the fuck? So we see them on the 2nd day, so this would take place only a day after all of the comic stuff if this was, canon. Which again, doesn't really line up with how they met and all that kind of stuff, but it's okay. It's a good way to kind of fill that space, I think. With all that, I think we're ready to start the campaign. As the campaign opens, we see this really neat cutscene as we go through a little hospital full of blood and bodies and infected. It says 3 days after the first infection as we find our survivors inside a room gearing up to ready to face the horrors ahead of them. Heading throughout the hospital is just in total disaster. Everyone is dead. Everyone's infected. There's not a single human other than our survivors in the entire building. There's a bunch of supplies around, healing items, types of guns and all that, so it's worth checking everything out. The main thing is once we head towards the front, we find a radio with a broadcast happening.
The Army has set up evacuation zones with the help of the local police force. The current list is as follows. If you're in or around the downtown area, head to the Skyview Hotel. If you're near Maple Park or its surrounding areas, head to Maple Park High School. Residents of the Westlake suburbs are urged to stay inside their homes and await further instructions. As of right now, we are still not sure what's happening in the affected areas, but we've just received reports of gunfire downtown. We are trying to reach our field reporter at the Skyview Hotel, but so far, we've been unsuccessful. There have been video circulating the internet showing what seems to look like fast-running zombies attacking people in the streets. Obviously, we are still trying to confirm the validity of these reports. While there hasn't been an official statement provided by the Secretary of Defense, we know that the Army and the local police force are working together to evacuate all civilians to an undisclosed location. We will continuously confirm the status of all the current evacuation zones and bring you any updates as we get them. So stay with us through this commercial break.
I find it very funny that he has to go to a commercial break as evacuation signals are going off, but you know, whatever, make your money, whatever. As you finish your time in the ICU, you head out to the lobby, which there are more dead bodies, including some police officers dead on the ground. Unfortunately for me, though, a fucking tank spawned and killed me. Fucked up, man. Oh, that ain't good. There's a tank. Crossing the street, we can find ourselves a convenience store with some banger tunes and a little bit of supplies. And then going through the back, we'll have to go through an alleyway which leads to a park. One thing though, inside the park and the playground, I found some adrenaline, so what's up with that, kids? Traveling through the park into a cafe area, which honestly isn't really too hard, we return to the street, which now is blocked off, so we have to go through this complex. Inside the complex, there's nothing too special, but except for a lot of really good environmental storytelling. Bodies laying on the ground next to firearms. These people just died and we just missed them. Upstairs in the apartment, we can find a TV playing another emergency broadcast.
This isn't by any means an isolated incident. All hospitals in the downtown area have been overrun by what can only be described as zombies. Evacuation zones have been set up across the city. If you're in or around the downtown area, head to the Skyview Hotel. If you're near Maple Park or its surrounding areas, head to Maple Park High School. It is recommended that residents of the Westlake suburbs stay inside their homes and await the arrival of military personnel. We don't have much information about what's going on in the overrun areas. Our field crew is still yet to report back, but we've been told by our helicopter correspondents that it is, and I quote, a total bloodbath. We have reached out to the downtown police precinct, but so far our calls seem to be ignored. I'll have to make some confirmations, and when we get back, hopefully we can bring you a clearer picture of what's going on. In the meantime, we'll be showing the current list of active evacuation zones on the screen. Stay with us for more updates.
So as described by the news anchor, they're setting up evacuation zones in a few different places so people have ways to escape. So we got Skyview Hotel, Maple Park High School, and the CRT power plant. There's not a lot of communication happening because no one really knows what's going on. So it's still just in the dark. In the room behind the TV, we can find a computer monitor with YouTube up showing a zombie attack. Which again is funny because this was probably something you would be finding. After leaving the complex, we find ourselves back on the street, right next to an Italian restaurant. Going inside, we find even more bodies and way throughout the back. Once we reach the back, we find our first actual gauntlet of the entire campaign. So if you've played Left 4 Dead before, this is really nothing too special. However, the zombies do not stop spawning, so you gotta get across this bridge or you're gonna be overwhelmed. So it's really not too difficult. You just stay with your team, just shoot in a straight line, because that's the only way they can come from, and you'll be fine. Which then concludes Chapter 1. The first thing we see is the first wall graffiti of the entire campaign. It's everywhere. We're heading to the Skyview Hotel. After leaving the safe room, we head up some stairs to another apartment complex with a lot of different rooms and areas you can explore with more environmental storytelling, which I highly recommend checking out yourself because you can find snipers, ammo, explosive ammo, all that kind of stuff. Heading to the roof, we hear another emergency broadcast.
Similar incidents are being reported in New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Detroit, and Chicago. Martial law has been declared across the northern East Coast. If there is no activity where you live, stay inside and lock all doors. Civil unrest is still being reported downtown. We are trying to confirm the status of the Skyview Hotel evacuation zone. We have been unable to reach anybody there for the last half hour. There have been reports of members of the Army falling ill to the disease, but we were unable to do any follow-up confirmations. In fact, after any reports of the infected, no more news come out of that area. The President and some members of Congress have been moved to a secret location following the initial incidents in Washington. The National Guard as well as the United States Army have been given full authority over the major cities on the East Coast. We'll have to go for a short break. We'll keep you updated as soon as we find out more.
We hear the situation's getting worse as jets fly overhead and helicopters buzz in the air. It's only getting worse. Crossing the rooftops, we enter an office building and climb down the stairs until we reach the bottom floor. Back on the streets, we can find a couple more businesses, like a nightclub, a supplement shop, and a convenience store which conveniently has some cola in it. I recommend picking this up because it can be used later for some pretty decent loot. With the cola in hand, we head up the street and find a gun shop, which does have a katana and a few different types of guns. In the back, however, there's going to be a man in a back room with next to a golden crowbar, which is kind of fun. Now, going through the left door, we enter an electronics store, which does have some TVs with the news on.
We were able to fully confirm that the Skyview Hotel evacuation zone is no longer active. Downtown is now considered an overrun area, as are the immediate surrounding areas. If you're still somehow near downtown, head to Maple Park High School. We apologize for any possible misdirection. We were only able to confirm this thanks to our helicopter crew. There was no official announcement from the police or the military as far as we know. Right now, it is confirmed that Maple Park High School is still operational. We will continuously confirm the status of all the remaining evacuation zones for as long as we can. Stay with us to get more updates about this ongoing situation.
Unfortunately, the Skyview Hotel Evacuation Center is just across the street, in which we just missed it. Inside are a bunch of infected and a lot of dead bodies. Again, we just missed it. The next gauntlet event is here while we try to open up the elevator while a horde of zombies hits us. So get inside quick and get upstairs. Once we do get upstairs though, we do find a use for the cola. There's some survivors inside of a room we can talk to.
Holy shit, you guys have drinks outside. Can we have them? We'll trade you medical supplies for them. That'll hit the spot. Thank you so much. We heard Maple Park High School might still be evacuating. Hopefully you'll have more luck than we did.
Unfortunately, he doesn't have any extra lines if you don't have the cola. Now, down the hall, we go down the stairs to find a giant hole in the stairwell as we see a giant helicopter that just crashed into the building as we see the remnants of the Skyview Evacuation Center. Heading through there, we go to a park that goes underneath an underpass, which leads us to another safe house. And that then concludes Chapter 2. In the safe room, we find some more wall graffiti. Skyview Hotel is overrun, do not go this way. And school evac heading that way. Exiting the safe room, we see that time has passed, and now it's a little bit darker as the sun starts to set. Also, the hue of green is very evident. Next to the playground, there is another radio, but it does play something kind of odd. I generally don't know what that is. It might be the scariest part of this whole campaign. Continuing on our way, we find ourselves next to another overpass with a truck that is veered off the side. Crossing the interstate, we find ourselves finally at the high school, but it seems that the infected is already completely broken in. Once inside, it's the same story as we found everywhere else. Everyone is dead or infected. The rooms are just completely empty and there's just corpses on the ground. However, there's this funny little image here. With our way blocked, we have to go around the entire school from the second story. So we head up the stairs, head all the way around, and then head back down. But before we do that, we find another radio with another broadcast.
Now keep in mind that we haven't been able to reach anybody at Maple Park High for about an hour now. If you have other options, avoid this area completely. We still have reports coming from CBT Electric, which seems to be the last remaining stronghold of the military. The initial orders for Westlake Suburbs residents to stay inside have been retracted. There will be no more extraction teams sent out, so if you haven't been evacuated already, you have to make your way to the CBT nuclear power plant on your own. Civil unrest is being reported throughout all districts, and all other evacuation zones have been overrun. In reaction to this ongoing situation, panic has spread across the entire East Coast. Some states also report similar incidents, and some cities have been completely overrun. We have to take a short break here. We have some very concerning reports coming in. We'll be back when we know more.
Things are looking bleak. The military is completely pulling out and just saying that anyone who is staying home has to make their way to CBT Electrical for any sort of safety. When exiting, we finally reach this chapter's gauntlet event where we have to walk through 2 metal detectors, which sounds an alarm. This one isn't hard at all. They usually give you a lot of weapons anyway. Also, this one gave me an M60, so it was really easy. Just head down the hills until we find a very barricaded house with the words "Keep out, we'll shoot on sight," which then completes Chapter 3. There's no wall graffiti in the start of this one, but it seems to be some sort of prepper house, since they got a bunch of barbed wire on it and a lot of keep out signs. Make sure to check all the houses. There's a lot of supplies. There's nothing too crazy in there, but it's worth checking out. Then heading down the street, we find ourselves in front of another blockade, so we have to go through multiple more houses until we find another TV.
We've received reports of soldiers abandoning evacuation zones in Detroit, Chicago, and Pittsburgh. Although still unconfirmed, it would appear that evacuation efforts are stopping altogether. If you're still out there waiting to be saved, it seems like nobody's coming. You have to get to CBT Electric while you still can. We'll keep the address on screen, but we're leaving the studio. Good luck out there.
Seems that the military is pulling out and stopping all evacuation efforts, which is not good. After that, we cut through the woods, and then we find this shack, and this radio is odd.
But to me, death is not a fearful thing. It's living this treachery. I have never seen anything like this before in my life. No, Christine, it's not worth living like this. Not worth living like this.
Die with respect, die with a degree of dignity. Lay down your life with dignity. Don't lay down with tears and agony. There's nothing to death. It's like Max said, it's just stepping over to another plane. Don't be this way. Stop this hysterics. I tell you, I don't care how many screams you hear. I don't care how many anguished cries. Death is a million times preferable to 10 more days of this life. If you knew what was ahead of you, you'd be glad to be stepping over tonight. Death is common to people. And the Eskimos, they take death in their stride. Let's be dignified. Talking to them, all they do is taking a drink, they go to sleep. That's what death is, sleep.
For the life of me, I can't figure out what this is from, so if you have any idea, please let me know down in the comments below. Continuing through the forest, we finally reached a lake that is across from the power plant. Luckily, we found one more radio with the one last message from our radio crew.
Rumors have been confirmed. As we speculated, the Army is abandoning all evacuation zones within the affected area. The official plan is to gather at a number of military bases outside the affected zone and stop the spread of the infection. We received reports of military convoys driving away from established safe zones, and these reports have just been confirmed with the leak of a classified document describing the operation. The CBT power plant evacuation zone is to be abandoned at 9 p.m. today. If you still haven't made it there, this is your last chance. There will be no more rescue operations, no new evacuation zones. To put it simply, the plan is to quarantine and wait for everyone to die. We tried to broadcast for as long as we could, but we will be shutting down in a few minutes. Good luck out there.
As we suspected, all the army is going to be leaving, so we have to make it to the power plant by 9 o'clock or we're going to be left behind. You could maybe say left for dead, maybe. One last thing though, inside one of the houses, there's going to be a computer with some leaked information. The radio was talking about this, but we finally get to read it for ourselves. Phase 1. Hordes of the infected have breached primary defense sectors. Casualties are rising. Ammunition and medical supplies are critically low. Holding position is unattainable. All evacuation zones are to be abandoned by 2100 EST, and all military units will be retreating to the secondary defense line. Phase 2. The affected area is to be isolated and quarantined. All connecting bridges and roadways are to be destroyed. Early analysis reveals that the infected are still bound by the laws of thermodynamics. They will eventually succumb to dehydration, starvation, and exposure. Exiting that house, we finally reached the power plant. However, a plane has crashed right in front of it, which is pretty lucky for a nuclear power plant not to, fucking explode in, the end of the world. Just head up the hill and we will find the safe house, and that concludes Chapter 4. We finally make it to the power plant, and unfortunately, again, the army seems to have completely abandoned this place. This place is just swarming with infected and corpses. Luckily for us, there's still a chopper on top, and there's a soldier calling on the radio to help us out.
The chopper is prepped and good to go. What's the situation down there, Control? What's the situation, Control?
Hello?
I hear you loud and clear. We are on the roof. If you want to come with us, you gotta hurry.
We're ready, soldier.
Good luck.
Once you answer, you head to the door, and that starts the finale, which is one giant long gauntlet throughout the entire building. which you'll go through offices, you go through medical wings, I believe the core room, you know, rooms like that as you head to the roof. I think there's about one tank that's guaranteed to spawn no matter what, but I think at the finale we had 2 running at us. It was pretty scary. But once you get to the roof, it's pretty easy. Just run through it all and head straight onto that chopper and you're on your way. And that concludes Chapter 5 in this campaign. I believe this campaign is very solid. It's very fun. It's very engaging. The story is kind of interesting and how it sets itself before the beginning of the game. It sets up the whole world. The voice acting was pretty decent. The level layout was pretty fun. It was just very different from everything. And I do appreciate the small little, details that the author put into it, like the jets flying over, the helicopter. The ambiance was amazing. It was just an overall really good, solid campaign, and I highly recommend you give it a shot yourself, because this video was definitely not enough or good enough justice to give it. And yeah, that concludes this video. Again, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you've made it this far, I really do appreciate it. This was rushed in a single night because I wanted a video out by Halloween, and unfortunately I forgot. So I am editing this at 3:22 a.m. So I hope you did enjoy, and hopefully it wasn't too rushed. And if it was, I apologize. The videos in the future will be in high quality because I will give them a lot more time. So yeah, I hope you have a very happy Halloween or any day of the year. Yeah, I will see you guys in the next video in 2 months, I guess. Bye bye.